let's get started. Alright, so this was a topic that I had promised people for quite some time. And what am I going to be talking about today? Well, it's been a fan theory of mine for quite some time, which is within the Mega Man universe, which is basically my kind of theory of everything, like the actual scientific theory of everything that scientists are trying to constantly figure out in the real world universe. Well, this is my Mega Man theory of everything within the world of Mega Man, within the multiverse of Mega Man. And that is, how is all of this stuff connected? So basically, if you look at the Marvel multiverse, if you look at the DC multiverse, if you look at all of these different multiverses, you know, mangas like Dragon Ball Z multiverse, you know, you look at various different video games, even like Super Smash Brothers, and this is like Super Smash Brothers and all that kind of stuff. Like, this is actually what kind of prompted me to want to do this, because I think about various different video games that Mega Man has appeared in that are crossover video games, like Super Smash Brothers, like Marvel vs. Capcom, all of these various different fighting games that he has appeared in, or Tekken. And whenever I look at these games, I start trying to come up with lore, like theoretical lore, to explain the exact mechanism that each character within their universe could have gotten there, right? So, and I know that with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, there already is like an in-universe explanation as to how everybody got there in that game. But just within the scope of other games or in the broader spectrum of their universe, how could Mega Man potentially show up in other universes and do like team ups with other characters from other universes? Like, within Mega Man's own multiverse, how is it theoretically possible that he could go from one universe to the next? And this is where my theory comes into place. I call it mystical cartridge theory. So when you look throughout the Mega Man universe, the Mega Man multiverse, between the Battle Network / Star Force timelines and then the classic timeline from classic all the way to Legends, for those people who are not as familiar with the Mega Man series, a lot of people just look at the series from a very, very surface level perspective. They don't think that there's much storyline to the game, but for us hardcore fans, we know that the story is told hidden in plain sight. If you research into all the little details of the franchise, it opens up so much room for more. And it's no secret that within the Mega Man franchise, the idea of cyberspace has come up quite a bit, which is one of the reasons why I'm playing Astro Man's theme from Mega Man and Bass in the background right now, because that stage is one of the stages that heavily has to deal with cyberspace, at least in my opinion. So let's go into this. Let's start with this. The start of cyberspace and what cyberspace is within the Mega Man franchise. I think that it's kind of up for debate as to what exactly cyberspace is within the Mega Man franchise, but I think we can determine it. We can determine it down to a couple different things. Cyberspace is the Mega Man's equivalent to the internet. However, unlike in the real world, the internet in the Mega Man multiverse does not operate under the same rules and laws that the internet operates in the real world. The internet cyberspace in the Mega Man universe is much more potent within their physical material world, meaning that if programs or software programs can accumulate enough energy within cyberspace then it can materialize in the physical world. And so in the real world that me and you live in, at least to our knowledge, there will never be a such thing as a computer program that is so powerful or so densely packed with information that it could just materialize in the real world, right? The internet in the real world is a intangible digital space stored on a collection of servers communicating with each other across the world that collects data in the forms of ones and zeros, and you can create digital images through learning how to program. You can create digital space within servers that appear to be like, animated objects, right? So the internet in the real world exists on literal hardware. They exist on literal hardware in technology. Whereas in the Mega Man universe, cyberspace, or the internet, seems to be an immaterial dimension that exists as like a layer on top of their physical world. Meaning that the internet is not held within a collection of servers. The internet actually has X, Y, and Z proportional scales that are like a doppelganger universe almost to their actual physical universe. So there's actual locations. Like if you were to go to, like, in the battle, nothing makes this more apparent than in the Battle Network series. In the Battle Network series, you could enter your NetNavi in on your computer in your bedroom, and then if you wanted to go to the part of the internet that controls your refrigerator, your actual software program, your NetNavi, would have to walk in digital space from the bedroom over to the kitchen where your actual refrigerator is. And if your NetNavi was to materialize itself in the physical world, it would appear next to your refrigerator. So the internet is not consolidated, isolated to a group of servers within the Mega Man universe. It is an actual intangible alternate dimension that is layered on top of the material world. There is aspects of it that suggests that it was invented by human beings, but there's also many other evidences that suggest that the internet or cyberspace is something that is natural to the universe's evolution, meaning that it has always existed, and for as long as the universe itself has existed, so has cyberspace. And there's multiple different sources for this, such as in Mega Man Battle Network 5, Team Colonel / Team Proto Man, and Mega Man Battle Network 6, Cybease Falzar and Cybease Gregar. Both of the end bosses of those games are suggested, much more so 5 than 6. 6 definitely is not as much so, but 5 more so than 6. It suggested that the end boss in that game is actually thought to be a manifestation of cyberspace very, very early on in the universe's, I guess, creation, or just, manifestation. The universe's spontaneous manifestation. So now that we've got that out of the way, the question then becomes, that goes back to my theory, is why? Why is that? And this is where my theory comes into play, which is the mystical cartridge theory. Let's go to a couple of different things, shall we? Okay, so now this is a picture of a traditional NES cartridge, a traditional NES console, Nintendo Entertainment Center console. What's the significance of that? I also have another picture of Mega Man 5. Mega Man 5 and the original cartridge for Mega Man 5 and the NES cartridge. What's the significance of that, you ask? Okay, let's go over here and let's pull up this image of Mega Man from the TV OVA Wishing Upon a Star, and another of Mega Man from the TV show Mega Man Wishing Upon a Star, the OVA from Japan. This is from the first episode, appearance in Japan. I'm also going to pull up Mega Man X Dive, the character simply known as Player. So what's the significance of all these things? These are all examples, and of course I mentioned previously Marvel vs. Capcom. I mentioned Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate, Mega Man's appearance in those. But and all the common thread that all of these things have in common is they depict Mega Man in the video game world, and also too in Captain N, the Game Master. He's in that too as well. But Mega Man in the video game world, spontaneously breaking the rules of the video game cartridge itself, or the world of the video games, and he's exiting the video game, and he comes into real life. In Mega Man Wishing Upon a Star, the OVA, the story goes is that Yuta and his sister Akami are obsessed with playing Mega Man, specifically Yuta, and when he goes to bed at night, his parents tell him to go to bed, but instead of going to bed, he's just like, 5 more minutes, and he keeps playing Mega Man 5. Now, throughout the course of playing Mega Man 5, he falls asleep, and as he's falling asleep, Mega Man is sitting there on the screen, and Mega Man becomes self-aware. In my opinion, he's already self-aware, but he looks at the TV screen, and he's like, hey, nobody's playing. He's like, something's wrong. And he jumps out of the TV. Well, originally Dr. Wily does, but Mega Man follows because Dr. Wily escaped into the real world of Japan. He literally had the ability to jump through the game cartridge, through the television, and manifest into the real world. It's a similar situation with Mega Man X Dive. In Mega Man X Dive, you have Rico and the the 3 siblings who are, I can't remember their names right now, but they are kind of like administrators, like administrator programs to the concept of the deep log. And this is basically the Mega Man multiverse, like the computer, like the actual programming within whatever game cartridge or whatever video game programming that organizes all of the Mega Man multiverse to its specific timelines. And there's been bugs that have been happening that have been rearranging what events in Mega Man history happen and when. And the game becomes sentient, and then Rico, the administrator, begins talking to the player, and it becomes the player and Rico's mission to then go throughout the Mega Man multiverse and reorganize the timeline so it'll go back to its current state. That's the concept of the game. So both things involve characters from the Mega Man multiverse becoming sentient and communicating through some type of mystical device within the cartridge or the video game itself to the actual players of the outside world. Now, let's close these out because we're going to get into some of my theories as to various different objects within and concepts within the Mega Man multiverse that suggest that this is the case. This is my own personal theories. These are my opinions. This is my headcanon. You don't have to agree with this, but this is literally what I do now think is going on in the Mega Man universe. So let's jump to the first thing, which is the idea of gems and E-crystals within the Mega Man universe. So first of all, I'm going to bring up this picture right here. This is a life energy pellet from the Mega Man Classic timeline. So for those who do not know, within the classic timeline of the Mega Man universe, the first 11 games in the Mega Man World games, Mega Man and most of the other robot masters, they're powered by solar energy. Now, most people, most fans, I believe personally, they have taken this to mean that Mega Man has to charge in the sun, or like when Mega Man is in underneath the sun, the rays of the sun, he charges up like a plant or like Superman. But in my personal opinion, This is not the case. If you look at the life energy pellets from most of the Mega Man games, especially almost all of the classic Mega Man games, they are all yellow energy pellets that look like a sun. In real life, you have things like nuclear fission or nuclear fusion, which harnesses energy from either the splitting of atoms or the fusing of atoms. So, in my particular opinion, we know that the sun is essentially a gigantic nuclear fusion reactor, heated nuclear fusion reactor, heated to 100 million degrees, and that process creates nuclear fusion, and that gives off energy. And so that's why I think that they say it's solar power, because he's not directly solar powered, meaning that he doesn't have solar panels in his armor and he's not charging from the sun, but his core, his energy core, is literally a nuclear fusion reactor. He literally has, like Dr. Otto Octavius from Spider-Man 2, he literally says, "The power of the sun in the palm of my hand." He literally has the power of the sun. He's a nuclear fusion reactor. Now, by the events of Mega Man X2, now, before I go on to that, let's bring up this, gems. The first signs that technology, as far as energy is concerned, begins to evolve, in my opinion, is when you start noticing these guys, where my mouse is highlighted, the gems on Gutsman's forehead and center chest, and the gem on Dustman's forehead. Now, if you were to look at Dustman's busters on his arms, inside the buster, you'd also see gems. And if you looked at the bottom of Gutsman's feet and Dustman's feet, including Mega Man's feet, they would also both likely have gems at the bottom of their feet likely. And actually, if you look closely, you can see both on Dustman and Gutsman's ears, they both have gems. Now, I don't want to go too heavily into gems, although this is a very important thing too, which is that the gem is almost like a technological magic mirror within the Mega Man universe. It is one of the earliest ways, and it's a technology that was actually sustainable because gems exist literally in every single Mega Man timeline and in every single Mega Man series. So it is a way that computer programs or energy or computer programs can materialize into the physical world. It's literally a focusing lens. It takes digital data and transforms it into three-dimensional physical objects, or to just have abilities within the three-dimensional physical world. But this is, in my opinion, in my headcanon, gems was the first sign in the Mega Man timeline that technology was onto something, and they were going to then begin progressing past utilizing nuclear fusion as an energy source, and they were going to start using something that's not realistic to the real world, like mine and your world, and they were going to start using a more fictional based energy in the form of E-crystals or energen crystals. So let's exit out and let's take a look at energen crystals. So here's an energen crystals from Mega Man X2 from the X series, and here is E-crystals from Mega Man 0 series. So when we look at, let's zoom this one in a little bit. These are E-crystals from Mega Man X2. Now, it's not, I don't know how fully verified it is, but for the most part, it's pretty verified that E-crystals from Crystal Snail stage from Mega Man X2 was essentially like the prototype in the researching projects that scientists were undergoing in the Mega Man timeline, the Mega Man Classic timeline, to essentially coming up with a more sustainable and more powerful form of energy, of clean energy and extremely powerful forms of energy. Now, this is where it gets in a lot of headcanon, but we come over to the 0 series, and the 0 series, I don't know how to zoom this in. Let's see, can we zoom this in? No, we can't zoom it in. Anyways, you just have to squint really close for this, but in the 0 series, one of the main things in the 0 series is there has become an energy crisis. Nuclear fusion energy is no longer enough to cut it, and the current development, the current evolution of e-crystal or energy and crystal technology, and we're looking at these little guys right down here, e-crystals, is that they are not fully developed enough that the scope of technology has evolved to where nuclear fusion is just not enough to cut it anymore. They need a more potent source of energy. So they begin to start trying to look for e-crystals. So CL starts developing energy solutions in the form of crystals to try to solve the world's energy crisis. So, my opinion about what e-crystals are, and I don't have the picture of it, but if we look even later in the Mega Man Legends timeline with refractor crystals becomes the new main source of energy in the Mega Man universe. So, what is it particularly about crystals? Crystals are a very, very important part. And even on Mega Man X right here, we can see here's the head gem, the arm cannon gem, the ear gems, just like Gutsman and Dustman. And at the bottom of his feet, you're going to find 2 more gems at the bottom of his feet. So this idea of crystals as focusing lenses, or these crystals that can emit energy. What is it about e-crystals or just crystal gem-like technology that is so potent within the Mega Man universe? Okay. Now, let's see. Is there anything else in regards to gems or anything that I want to talk about? Okay, I think that as a reference, there's more references that I could use, but this is where my theory comes into play, that gems are definitely crystal-like objects that have they're physical objects that have natural properties to them that connect them to cyberspace. And they can take all of that potent energy from cyberspace and, like a focusing lens, bring it in many different forms over into the physical world. So that's gems. And so that leads us into cyberspace. I've already described cyberspace before, but let's look at some properties of cyberspace. Here's an example of cyberspace from Mega Man 8 with Astro Man stage. Here's an example of cyberspace from Mega Man and Bass. Oh, this is actually Mega Man 8. The top one's Mega Man and Bass. But these are all 3D worlds, like Mega Man and Astro Man, to the best of their ability, are in cyberspace. So now, by the Mega Man Classic timeline, robots cannot enter and exit cyberspace. But, and here's another one too, from Sheepman stage. Sheepman stage also takes place in cyberspace as well. You see disappearing Yoku blocks, that also has to deal with cyberspace. The idea that the internet is a doppelganger dimension that you can actually interact with. And then, that all changes by the time we get to Mega Man Extreme. There's examples within Mega Man Extreme, but for now I'm going to use this example also of Mega Man X4 in Cyber Peacock stage. This stage takes place entirely within cyberspace, and this little portal might have an actual name to it, but in my own headcanon, I call this a transmission mirror. In my personal opinion, I believe that this is a device that robots use to go from the real world into the digital internet. This is how robots can teleport. They can go like a gate, like Stargate, like from the television and series and the movie series Stargate. They can go to and fro from the real world into the physical world. So cyberspace is an actual literal doppelganger. Now, when I say that it's a doppelganger dimension that's natural to the Mega Man multiverse, what proofs do we have that that is the case? And here's some of the proofs. Because in cyberspace, there are beings that naturally evolve within cyberspace. In enter the Cyber Elves. These are beings that, similar to how matter, like with the Big Bang in the material universe, like in the real world, manifested just by itself. These are beings that exist, that manifested in cyberspace, essentially of their own accord. They are digital, full-fledged digital sentient life forms that evolved on the internet in the Mega Man universe. The Mother Elf was created, but it also too became a living being, and it is at the top here as well, and it is essentially God. This concepts like these is what allows in the Mega Man universe for technology to develop and eventually allow robots and humans to turn into software programs, and they also get to become cyber elves as well. Now, let's go. I have an example of that with Cyber Elf X. Despite the fact that he looks different, this is the actual Mega Man X from the X games, both of them. They're the same person. It's just art for artistic purposes. This is concept art. But this is Mega Man X when he dies and he becomes a cyber elf. So by the time of the Mega Man Zero series, they figured out the internet to a degree where robots can now become like spirits or programs that exist on the internet. And when a program actually goes so far as to lose its charge or like its potent power, its energy, it does disappear into cyberspace and everything kind of dies. But there is even evidence within the Mega Man multiverse to suggest that even past the death of even the cyber elf, there is something still baked into the mesh of the universe, of the multiverse, of the Mega Man multiverse, that suggests that all beings in some way, shape, or form are still living. And that is in Mega Man Star Force 2 with the character of Hollow or Altair. Now, a lot of people didn't like this, but I did greatly enjoy this. So, in this game, the human Altair dies. And I can't remember this lady's name, but she creates a digital version of Altair called Hollow. And Hollow is this human male as basically a cyber elf, but he's really an EM being. That's what they called it in Star Force. He's really an EM being. But here's the thing. He is an EM being, but he's a hollow shell. He's not the actual Altair. In this game, however, the actual Altair, who was never converted to a cyber elf, a net navi, an EM being, anything that's a digital program, somehow comes back from the dead as an EM being. He is just dead. So there's something about, what I'm trying to get at is there's something about cyberspace in the Mega Man multiverse that is literally keeping track of. It's remembering everything. It's allowing things to come to and fro. It's keeping track of the various games. It keeps track of even characters, like all of the characters from the Mega Man universe that have died or have come to and fro. They're all remembered in some type of a way. There is some type of digital mechanism that is connected to cyberspace that allows beings to be remembered, and that allows for the Mega Man universe to essentially operate technology in a way that is similar to magic. Mega Man, in its true essence, is really science fantasy. It is science fantasy. So, that is where this whole, now I've covered all the bases. That is where I sum up this theory simply and poetically. That the entirety of the Mega Man universe, multiverse, cyberspace, cyber elves, crystals, e-crystals, gems, net navis, EM beings, they all exist on a mystical cartridge or a series of mystical video game cartridges. That's right. Every game you've ever played exists on one of these mystical cartridges. It is a universe within a video game. It is programmed by a game developer. It's some sort of magical game developer that allows the characters, the events within the game to manifest outside. And this would explain how Mega Man, in certain cases, like in a Marvel vs. Capcom scenario, when Mega Man has to fight, let's say, Spider-Man, that's how Mega Man could potentially come out of his multiverse and fight Spider-Man, because his universe, his entire multiverse, exists on a game cartridge, a disc, a series of discs, or whatever have you, that allows Mega Man, his already sentient self, to leave the video game, exit through cyberspace, in the same way that cyber elves, when a cyber elf dies and decides to return to the massive cyberspace as the whole, or like how the master from Mega Man Legends 2 says, I'm going to return into the arms of my true mother, that Mega Man can exit through cyberspace and leave cyberspace and exit out the other side through this mystical type of cartridge, and he can manifest in the real world. So that is my theory. That is called mystical cartridge theory. That's how I think that the entire Mega Man franchise works. That's why it works. It's a huge analogy for mythology and for the afterlife. That's a lot of what Mega Man is all about. It's the same thing. Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, same exact thing. But that's how they chose to use the analogy within these games. In my personal opinion, it's mystical cartridge theory. The entire Mega Man multiverse exists on a limited edition, collector's edition group of discs or cartridges that are just out there somewhere in the world. Like maybe there's 15 to 20 of them. That explains why Player has one in Mega Man X Dive. That explains why Yuta and Akami have one in Mega Man Wishing Upon a Star. You know, just a couple of people throughout the world just happen to, by chance, get their hands on one of these mystical cartridges or discs that allow Mega Man to manifest in the material world or go back into the video game world at any point that he so chooses. And that's the reason why, to a certain extent, no characters, whether there's Mega Man here, Gravity Man over here, or Proto Man here in the back, no characters from the Mega Man multiverse are ever really truly dead. It's very similar to the Force Ghost from Star Wars. So, anyways, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day.